Hi everybody, Jo here again. Time to grab that brew, that cheeky biscuit, although I know a lot of you are being good. I know it's February. I nearly said January, I forgot we'd moved on. But no, we've made it to February, haven't we? Which is good. Today we're going to have a little play with this sort of card design. I'm well aware that a lot of you are sort of struggling with your mojo at the minute. And so the other week, the last time I did the demo where we had a frame, you all seemed to like that design so much with the florals that I thought we'd almost just do another take on it. And what I like is to give you something almost quite simple to start off with, which then you can experiment with, hopefully get your mojo going and look at lots of possibilities, you know, changing the stamps up a bit, changing your colours, changing the stencils, adding a stencil, taking a stencil away, that type of thing. My main aim is that we have a bit of crafty time together, get a nice brew, and we have a catch up, just so if you're stuck at home on your own, you don't feel as though you're just on your own. Maybe you just want to watch. Maybe you want to craft along with me. That's fine. However you want to use these videos, that's fine by me. My main objective is just to hopefully give you a bit of a incentive if you're stuck with getting into your craft room. Some ideas. Sometimes we just need that bit of inspiration, don't we, where to get started. Now I'm going to use today, I'm starting off with a piece of card, and this is 14 centimetres square. And the reason I tend to use this, I use this size a lot in workshops, and that's because A, it fits beautifully. Look, this is a 6 by 6 inch card blank. So my 14 square fits perfectly on it. But if I wanted to have a larger card, I could mat and layer and put it on a 7 by 7 or an 8 by 8. But also I cut A4 sheets down, where you actually get 2 of these out of an A4 sheet. So for me, it's a win-win. So let's get started, shall we? And what we're going to do is, as I say, we're going to look at the idea of doing almost like, we've got some white space, which is nice. It's always lovely to have white space. Now, as I say, the other week I did a frame card where we had the white frame around it. And also you can have panel cards, and there's a YouTube further back, I think it was possibly last year if you want to look, the one where we have the panel where we tape off front and below. That's always a good technique. So if you haven't seen that, have a look back, refer to that. So this is almost a bit of a, sometimes I like to take these old techniques and just almost put a new spin on them. So I've no idea what we're going to call this. It's just a card. It's almost like half panel, half frame, half, who knows. So what we're going to do first is tape off the area where we're going to start. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm using, this is Sticks 2 low tack tape. You can get Sweet Poppy Stencils tape, and both of those are very good, but do make sure it is a low tack and it's a removable tape. I know one of my workshop ladies bought a Sticks 2, but it was a permanent tape, so obviously that's no good. It's got to be removable. Now, you could put a couple of pieces here, but I've got to be honest, for me, because I'm really stingy, I only want to use one piece. Under my mat here, and please don't judge me on the state of this, I've got a self-healing craft mat, and it's got a grid on it. So I'm just going to line up the grid so I can get, I know this is straight. I'm not into measuring. Now, it depends how far up you want and how much of a white space you want. So again, you can decide. I think we might just go a bit higher on this one. I think we'll possibly go there. So I've put my piece like that. Now, what I tend to do, you could put another piece of tape there, like I say, but I'm very stingy with my low tack tape. Sorry, excuse me. So I tend to use Post-it notes. And for me, I'm just going to put a Post-it note up to my low tack tape there. And that's, again, that's just the way I like to do it. You know what I always say, you do, however you find these things. If you like to use more tape, like I say, I can't help it. I'm just a bit stingy. But that's me. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to add some colour first. So, as you know, I love oranges. So, we're going to go for, and I've chosen 3 colours. And I'm using the oxides again just because they're on my desk. You know, I tend to use the same products again and again. And I do think, because if you've bought these products, you know, when I first started going to workshops and getting into crafting, and I know there's a lot of new crafters on here, which is lovely, but if every time you want to produce something, you've got to buy something new, it almost puts you off and you feel under pressure. So I do like to use products that we've already got. So whatever types of ink you're using, a dye-based ink. So I've gone for a yellow, an orange and a deeper orange. I have to say I love this Crackling Campfire, or Burning Bonfire as I've renamed it. Again, just because that's the way my head works. And what we're going to do is we're going to use smoothies, just because, again, that just happens to be what I've got at the time on my desk. I've got to check you can see. I'm going to come in with my deeper colour first. Let's take this down. And I'm just going to drag on the tape and bring it up. I want it dark at the bottom. And I'm not worried about blending. I'm just dabbing for the minute. And I'm going to almost drag some colour up the side. And then almost sort of here where I think the moon mask's going to go, I'm just going to flick some colour. And then I'm going to come in with my next colour. So this is the medium one now. And I'm just going to almost flick a little bit more off. So we're not blending as you would blend. We're not doing the circular motions. We're just almost dragging and flicking. And that's all I'm going to do. So I've got the darker colour and the lighter. And now I'm going to come in with my fossilised amber, which is sort of almost like a muddy yellow. And I'm just going to flick that almost around the edge. And then I'll just come in and blend a little. Obviously, I don't want to go under the tape. Make sure your tape's down. Then I'm just going to blend a little bit of colour along the top. I'm not going to add any more ink. I want some white space, but I also want this deeper colour here. So I'm just going to come in again and just deepen this edge. I want this nice and deep. Just helps with perspective and it gives you depth at the bottom. And we'll get a nice contrast with the white if we do that. Now, and I know you think that might look a bit like a dog's dinner, but there's a reason. I want to put my main stamp. If I show you the finished one, I'll show you what I've got in mind. And I want to put this large stamp here. So I almost want a bit of orange around it, look. And I'm also going to put the moon behind it so we get that contrast with the orange and then the white. So what we're going to do is bring our moon mask in now on my piece of acetate. Again, this was just cut by hand round the base of one of my wine glasses. And I'm going to put that round. So where I've got the larger, I'm going to put that there. Now to blend, I'm going to start off by using the smoother that I used for my yellow because I don't want it very strong. And I'm putting that on the white because obviously the colour is going to show up more on the white, isn't it? And if I go from a deeper one and bring that further down, because again, I'm going to need deeper colour on the deeper. Now I'm not adding any more ink onto my smoothie because you'll be amazed how much they've already got on. Now, as always, just like we do with stencils, the same we do with the moon mask, lift it up to have a look. I just want to blend that join there. Lift it up again, yes, and then take it off. So I'm happy with that. Now, I must admit, sorry, excuse me, I've been struggling with my throat again today. Do you know, I was up most of last night, just had to sleep sitting up. This naughty little throat's not behaving. But do you know what? It's not going to stop me. Sorry. Just going to have a little drink of water. It won't stop me talking. It can try, but it won't. But I think this, now I'm just going to put the lids, would make a lovely background if you say wanted to, you know, the dragons, the flying dragons. I mean, obviously I'm going to do florals because, you know, I'm passionate about my florals. But I think you could put the dragons on here. You could put the castle. You could put some fairies. So again, if you want just a nice generic background. Now, in with the fan brush and let's do some flicking with the water. And we'll let that just faux bleach a bit, just to give us that nice background. I always put the lids on my ink pads just so I don't flick any water on my ink pad. And we'll just clean that up. So while that water's just soaking in and giving us that nice background, I must thank you for all your wonderful messages and comments. Honestly, they're so lovely to read them all, and I'm so pleased that you like what we're doing on here. Honestly, so lovely when I get to read them. I get all excited. Now I'm just going to blot this. At home, you could let it faux bleach a bit more. But obviously you don't want to just sit, do you, and watch it. Although if it means you're having a coffee break, you might want to. So I'm just going to dab this with. And I have to say, there's a lovely message the other day saying about my hands. So I was so thrilled because I do worry about how my hands look. Because obviously that's the one thing you focus on, isn't it? And just to let you know, I always put my lipstick on before I record these as well. I know you can't see me, but I just feel more, you know, I always go and put my lipstick on, brush my hair, just so I'm in the right frame of mind. Right, there we go. Now, I'm just going to whiz the heat tool over, just because we're going to stamp on here. Now, I know it'll loosen the tape, because obviously it'll not make it as sticky. I mean, that is one tip, you know. If ever you were using some tape and you were worried it wasn't low tack, when it's time to take it off, whiz your heat tool over it. I mean, I've got to be honest, if I have any sticky labels that I want to get off things, I always use my heat tool because it melts the glue. So a little tip for you there. But we don't want to take the tape off yet, because what we're going to do is we're going to do our stamping now. But as I say, it's a lovely generic background. I think that's so nice. And again, you know, if Mr. Mojo's gone missing, you could just make yourself a lot of backgrounds like this, couldn't you? Make the backgrounds, maybe use some different colours. What about some blues, some purples, really moody colours? And then you might just feel like stamping them up. So we'll start with the larger, and this is this, now I don't know how you pronounce this, Nigella Damaska. And again, if you're not sure what your stamp's going to look like, remember the trick of you using your acetate. And the reason we've got that there, look. Now, you might be worried about you've got lines here, but honestly, when we stamp this here, look, you won't even notice those. So I'm just going to turn this on the side, because obviously that's the way I tend to work. And I'm using the black for this, the VersaFine Clair. And I'm just going to put one here and give that a good press. Now again, you can use, we're doing a meadow, so I've got 3 different stamps to use. Obviously, if you're crafting along with me and you haven't got these same stamps, use whatever stamps you've got. Now this, obviously, it's not quite stamped there. Don't worry, we're going to put other florals in front of it, so it really doesn't matter. But sometimes it's nice for you to see that, because that could be because maybe I'd just not inked it up enough. Maybe it wasn't quite dry enough. There's lots of reasons. Now again, I've just twisted this slightly. Remember, when you're putting your stamp on your block, especially with the florals, you can just move the stem a little. Give it a bit of shape. Let's just check you can see this. Sorry, excuse me. So let's just put this one over here. Give this one a good press. And then let's just put it sort of straight now for the next one. Haven't used this stamp for a while. And you know what I'm like, it's nice to just, let's alter the height. We don't want it the same height as that one. We want to try and make this look as natural as possible. And I know that this won't be showing, but obviously we do want to stamp off the card. Now next I'm going to use this lovely one, and look at this, it's so well used, this stamp, and it's the Wildflower Stamp. And as you know, I use this a lot. I do have certain stamps I go to, but to be honest, I'm mixing it up because I'm using Glamorous, and this isn't a colour I use very much. But I thought we'd go sort of with the red-orange tones, sort of keep it all tonal. And this is just going to look so lovely. Again, let's mix the height up a bit. See how nice that looks, just with the, it's nice to have a solid one in a colour other than black. I just need to wipe, just got a bit of ink on my block. Now here, let's just alter the angle a little. And again here, let's put them close, because they tend to grow in clumps, don't they? And let's just have a little one there. And then I'm thinking just a little, why no, let's have a tall one up the side here. Yeah. See, that looks nice, doesn't it? So it's building up nicely. We don't want to overdo it with the red, because what I want to bring in is just one more, and it's the field grass. You know I like this. Now, the beauty of this, and I've got to be honest, this is one of my favourite stamps. I use it so much because it's almost very light and wispy, so you can put it over things, look. And the idea with this, I'm going to do it in 2 colours. So I'm going to stamp a few of them in brown first, and then I'm going to stamp a couple in black, and it'll just help give depth, because at the minute it all looks like it's almost flat on one level. But when you're doing this, remember, we don't want to stamp too many in brown. Otherwise, by the time we come to stamp the black, we'll have, you've heard it, a pizza. And you know we don't do pizzas. So we'll stamp one in brown there. But look how delicate it is. And this is so lovely. I love this because, you know, it's like the grasses when I take Eric, my Labrador, down the lane in the morning. You know, no matter what time of year, the grasses are always there. Absolutely beautiful. So you don't have to worry about, is it the right time of year? Would it be in flower? You can use this anytime. And when it's frosty, it looks lovely with the cobwebs on it. Absolutely beautiful. So now we'll stamp a few in black. And what this will do is bring them to the foreground, and it'll push the ones in brown towards the back. And also, that looks quite stark on its own at the minute because that's all we've got stamping in black. But you watch when we add a couple more in black with this, even though it's very delicate, that instantly comes to the foreground. Can you see? And it's pushing the red flowers into the distance, and it's just helping building up that sort of depth and perspective. So it's always a nice trick that if you're doing, or when you're doing your borders, your foliage at the top or the bottom of a scene, if you stamp, even though you're using the same stamp, if you stamp it first in, say, green or brown, and then do a couple on top in black, it really does help with your perspective. Make sure that tapes down, and we'll just put one more there. Now, I think that is looking lovely, and I love, see how we've got it altering height. You don't want it all the same height. And when we take this off, look, that edge there, yeah, I'm happy with that. I mean, I could put another there, but I think it'll be too much. I do think we're going into that pizza genre, and we don't want that, do we? Now, what we do want is this lovely butterfly, and this is one of the pound stamps. You know, I absolutely love the pound stamps. I'm a real, I do. I think they're such, well, obviously, good value for money. But the ones that you are going to use again and again, they're not just ones that, you know, the real worker stamps. And again, I've just cut the edge, so just tidy that up. Now, I want to put the butterfly here, almost half in and half out of the moon look. So I must admit, I'm really happy with that. So I think we can take this off now. Gently, gently. As I say, if you're worried if it starts tearing, just pop your heat tool on it. There we go. I think that's so pretty, don't you? Now, what you do now really is up to you. So if I bring these two in to show you, that's the basis of what we've got. Now we're going to colour our butterfly, but just to give you an idea. So this one, I've put my black Sharpie line round, and I've got a sentiment and some little splatters, because you know I love my splatters. Now this one, for an alternative, I've used a stencil. I've added some stenciling in the background, and I've put a butterfly there, left it without a sentiment. Now, often when I'm making cards, I do leave them without sentiment, so that if I suddenly needed this for a get well or a happy birthday, I could stamp my sentiment, and really it's that generic card that I've left to add a sentiment when needed. This one I've also added a black line here, so again, you can either leave it, look, without, or you can put your black line. So there's lots of alternatives there, lots of ways of mixing and matching all the designs. And for me, that's what I find fun. And hopefully you will too. So it's up to you where you take it from this point. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of colour here. And because I want to keep in with these colour tones, I'm just going to add some red and a little bit of brown. Now I am using my Inktense pencils, but for these, I'm actually just going to use them as colouring pencils. At this little bit here, I'm not going to add any water. Just going to use them as normal colouring pencils, which you can. I mean, they are water reactive, but you don't have to use water with them. So as I say, for this little bit, I'm just going to blend over the top with my red. And then I want to just add a little bit of yellow at the top. Now, you won't necessarily notice it, but for me, it just adds that little bit of highlight. And then onto the butterfly. So for the butterfly, I want to keep the idea with the red. So I'm going to put red around the edge, look. But I want to add a pop of blue because I almost want it to stand out. Isn't it funny? Because I want it to tone in and yet stand out. Sorry, excuse me. So, and this, I will just add a little bit of water just so that this blue pops. So I've just added the blue and I'll go back in and just blend my red. And then I've got my paintbrush is in my water. So I'll just dab it off and then just going to react this blue here. And I've got that nice bit of colour, look. So my red to tone in and my blue just to make it pop. I'm going to leave this one with a sentiment. So we'll put the black Sharpie line round. So for any of you that haven't seen this, it's just a nice little trick. And for those of you that have, it just reminds you. You can use, if you've got a pro marker, or I just happen to like these permanent Sharpies. And again, it's just giving me, because this is right for my 6x6 card blank, it saves me, matting and layering with black card. It saves weight if I'm going to post it. But also I know some crafters, I mean, I've got to be honest, it's like myself. How many times have you started and you get one side slightly bigger, your black, and then you cut it down a bit, cut it down a bit? Did you ever do that with your fringe when you were little? Or was that just me? When you tried to cut your fringe and you ended up starting at one side and then the other side was shorter and you went across, and before you knew it, you'd no fringe left at all. Always make sure you just wipe the edge of your ruler. Again, you just don't want that, put your hand on it and get black and then it goes on your card. So I have to say that's building up really nicely, isn't it? Now, I don't think we'll add any stenciling to this one. I like it without. But what we will add is we're going to add some yellow Posca and some white. So with the white, we're just going to add a little bit of highlight onto the butterfly. And a little bit of highlight on here. Not a lot, we don't want to overdo it. Just a little bit down this side where obviously the light's coming from there, so it's just going to catch it. I don't want to add too much, we'll add a little bit down there. But what we are going to add is some little yellow Posca. So these are just almost little flower heads, little flowers. Few little dots, brighten it up a bit, but also around here, look, we can add some blue. Now these can be like little butterflies or little fairies or just little orbs. And what looks nice is if in the middle of your Posca you actually put a little white on top of the yellow, and then it almost looks like a twinkle on it. Sorry, excuse me. Honestly, I don't think I'd had this in September, would you? I think Carl's in for another quiet night. So again, and really, it's as simple as that. And that's your basis for this design. Now, that didn't take long, did it? If I take that from under there, just to show you. Now, if you wanted, for me, I like this white space here and here, but it's almost a wee bit stark. So, and this is, again, just for me. So I'm going to take a little bit of my darker orange on my mat and then just mix some water. And I'm just going to add a few little flicks there, there. And you know I like diagonals, so we'll just go for a few in this corner. Not too many. We'll leave it at that. And as I say, I'm going to leave it without a sentiment because I think this would make a great card for... I could put quite a large sentiment there if I've got a verse, or just a single sentiment. And I think that would be perfect for either. So if I bring the other two in, just to show you. So here we've got the one that I've got the sentiment on. So that's similar to the one we've just made. Now, these would make lovely notelets. You know, if you wanted to make a gift for somebody, what about sending one of your friends some notelets in the post? That would be lovely. And here's the one, similar design, where I've added that stencil in the background. Now, again, that's just added at the end. You know me, I like to do my stamping first. And then I literally just pop the stencil on, little areas where I want it, and add some ink with my stencil brush. And I did this one tone on tone. So I used the fossilised amber. So there are my three little serving suggestions for you. So as I say, you can take it to whatever level you want. But I just thought you'd like to have a little play at this almost, don't even know what to call it, half panel, half meadow, half and half card. There we go. It's a half and half card. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'd love to see what you come up with. And I love getting all your emails, so thank you for all those that email me. And it's lovely when I get your questions as well. I'm quite happy to answer as soon as I can. I may not be able to answer straight away, but whenever I can, I will do. And you take care, please. I know quite a few of you are struggling at the minute, but hopefully these videos might just help a little, even if you can just spend a little bit of time crafting together. So let's have our brew, let's craft together, and let's just put some nice music on and relax. So you take care, everybody. Okay, I'm going to say love and hugs and bye for now.